And how's it going, guys? It's Wexxim Investing here, and I'm finally back. I've been so busy at work lately, and I just haven't had time, to be honest with you. I've, of course, been hanging out in the Discord talking to you guys every single night, but I just haven't had time to make videos, and I just figured now is a perfect time to update you on the market. The market in general is down a lot lately, and we know from experience that when the market crashes, normally it comes up again sooner or later. So let's see if we can find some nice entry points. Before we jump into the video, this is the last video in the knife giveaway. I will have a giveaway for a knife in the end of this video, and it's the first knife we're giving away on the channel. I've given away knives in the Discord before, but never on this channel. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So let's start off with the Budapest Capsule, because I think the Budapest Capsule is probably the most interesting thing that's been happening here on the Wexxim channel for at least the past 7 days. As I've been saying since we pretty much got them in the game, it is that I'm going to be taking a look and diving into the numbers of the capsule, and actually released this video just a few days ago. And I found this video really interesting, and I know a lot of other people did as well. So what did we actually find in this video? Well, what we found out with the Budapest Capsule is that the application rates on the Budapest Capsule for the hollows and the golds are extremely low, while the paper application rates is really high compared to all other majors. And I wasn't honestly expecting this, because when the Budapest Capsule first came out, everyone said, wow, the golds look so good, and wow, the hollows are something completely new that we haven't seen before. Sure, we had this other side of the coin saying, well, these look terrible, but in general, everyone seemed to have the same consensus that the golds were something new and something that most people actually kind of liked. But actually looking at the application rates were lower than the Rio Major. I'll say that again. One of the worst majors that we've seen sticker-wise for pretty much the past decade. When we're looking at application numbers and when we're looking at demand, we have like a 50%, 40% lower application rate. So one side of the coin is, well, Budapest Capsules are extremely underinvested, let's be honest. And the other side of the coin is, well, there seems to be absolutely zero demand. What I think is that this will be kind of like the Austin Major. The Budapest Capsule will fly up in price once they are discontinued, and then we won't really see too much action. So I think right now could be a really good time if you're looking for a short-term flip. Because looking at the numbers and previous majors, the capsules should be taken out fairly soon. There probably isn't any stress like in the next day or two, but capsules should be taken out fairly soon. And I think they will spike quite a bit, actually, because looking at the numbers, looking at the application rates, we can clearly see that they are underinvested. If you want a deeper dive, now I'm just summarizing this long video into a very short 1-minute clip here. But if you want a full video on that, I would recommend heading over to the video itself. I'll leave it in the description of this video. Let's move over to some cases. Well, the glove case is doing really good right now. It's gone from 14 euros on the Steam market all the way up to 20 euros in just 3 days. And that's actually a really nice sign, because there was some speculation, will the new case include gloves or will it not? We did have some leaks here or there, and we also have now some leaks regarding operation and a possible operation coming into the game. But we did do a deep dive into this, where we played actually kind of like a role play in the Discord, where we covered what would happen if all 3 scenarios regarding new gen gloves, and what would happen to the old gen gloves. For example, the Pandoras and the hedge mazes and all of those gloves. And no matter what we said or did, we played with the thought that Valve added really good gloves or really bad gloves, or they didn't add gloves at all. The glove case goes up in every single scenario. And now, what did we see? Well, a few days later, the glove case is coming up again. So it's nice to see, but again, we would have to wait here to see what actual demand do we have for the glove case at 20 euros. Hey, before we continue, I have to tell you about my own website, Wexxim Investing, where you can track all cases and check today's market. You can also see my investments and see my videos. And lastly, it's the place to join the biggest CS2 investing community out there. In the Discord, you can make friends, talk to people about investments, and ask any question you have about your own investments. After that, a great investor will give you a detailed breakdown in return of any question you have. In the Discord, we also offer buff balances, we offer giveaways, we offer graph analytics on all collection and cases, and we also have a bot tracking Chinese inventories, giving us early indication if an item is about to be manipulated. And we also have mass notification alert if any big update is coming into the game files, and I am honestly so happy to see what it has become during 2026. And I am positive that we will continue to grow this family. If you like CS2 investing, head on over to Wexxim Investing. Let's get into the video again. Now, one item I think is not being talked about enough is actually the Recoil Case. I personally very rarely invest into the active drop pool, but the reason I'm taking this up right now in this video is because right before we do know where we're getting a rotation of some sort, there's always speculation happening on the market. The Recoil Case has crashed down all the way down to 28 cents. And we also know that there's the biggest chance that they take out the Recoil Case. And what will happen then is it will fly up to, let's say, 50 cents. So we're looking at a possible 80 to 60% return on the Recoil Case. And nobody seems to be buying them right now, because some people still think that the Dreams and Nightmare Case has a chance to be taken out. Me personally, I don't think so. The Dreams and Nightmare Case, sure, it is older. But if we're looking, like for example, back in 2021 with the Snakebite Case, we could see clearly that the Snakebite Case was opened less, so they took out the Snakebite Case. And in this case, we're seeing the exact same thing with the Dreams and Nightmare and the Recoil Case. Statistically proven, there's a bigger chance for the Recoil Case to be the one that's taken out of the game. And it's only at 28 cents right now on the Steam market, even cheaper on, for example, Float, Skimport, and these other websites. So I would highly recommend, if this is something you're looking for, as well with the Budapest Capsules for these short-term flips, to look into the Recoil Case. The last case I want to cover is the Phoenix Case. I've covered this case before several times in several videos, but it's actually still sitting at €5. Yes, we did see a small hype there in this autumn where it went up from about €4 to €5. A nice 25% increase, but I still think it's extremely undervalued. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see this case at around 7 to 8 euros by the end of this year. And that's a, 50% return, 40% return? And let's average that out with the stock market, where you have an average return of 7 to 10% over a full year. So if you're looking for a stable investment with not a lot of downside, I would personally be looking in towards something like the Phoenix Case. Let's head over here to Wexxim Investing, and we can see that the Phoenix Case is all the way down to about 3.8 million cases left in supply. That's about 1/10 of the glove case, with the same time having 1/4 of the price of the glove case. Sure, you could argue that you could have much more potential in the glove case, but still, no matter how you twist or turn it, it just doesn't make sense at the current price point. And then let's cover the Anubis package. Just like I said 2 weeks ago when I released the last market update, I said that the Anubis package extremely low in supply when it comes to the actual capsules, but extremely high in supply when it comes to the actual skins in game. But what we're seeing now is that the demand just doesn't exist. There's zero demand for the Anubis package, and this is pretty much exactly what we thought. Very low supply of the capsules itself, but extremely low demand. I don't see this one going anywhere in the near future whatsoever. Stockholm Capsules are holding a really nice ground. They're one of the few capsules in the entire game that's pretty much at the same price point as they were about a month ago. The rest of the capsules are down about 10 to 15%. This is showing me exactly what I've been saying for a long time. The demand for the Stockholm Capsules is very high. At the same time, the people that are owning the Stockholm Capsules right now, they're holding on to their capsules. They do not want to open them. They do not want to sell them. This in my eyes is a really good sign, because what that means is with a growing player base, the demand will just increase. Now let's jump over back into China. Well, China is a part of the CS2 economy, let's be honest. China is buying stuff left and right, and China is pumping items left and right. Recently, China has been really quiet. We haven't really seen any massive pumps going left or right, but what we have been seeing is Wind King waking up again. Just a few days ago, he was active in his group chats talking about gloves, which gloves to buy, and he has also actually been buying up some of the new first-gen gloves. The hedge mazes, Pandoras, they've been seeing some really big crashes recently, so this is nothing unexpected. But right now, it's actually been really nice, because for the past 2 weeks, we really haven't been seeing any pumps going on, which I love to see, because now we're finally seeing a stable market. What's been happening, though, is that the market's been crashing. Not a lot, but it's been coming down. And this is really, really healthy. We can't just have a market going up and up and up and up and up, and then see these 100% returns on every single item. We need to see these drops. And we really need to see these drops on the high tier items and on the big supply items, because that shows a stable and healthy market. Okay, so let's talk about the Armory. I know a lot of people want to talk about the Armory, and it's on everyone's minds, right? What will happen with the Armory? Well, what we've seen, pretty much every single item in the Armory except the coverts has crashed about 20% for this month. And this, you could argue, is a really nice entry point. Well, because we know that the Army will have a rotation within a few months. If they don't do a rotation within a few months, that would go towards every single leak and every single date that they have ever set with the Armory. Probably we will have it within a month or two, but there is a chance maybe maximum 3 months. But let's play with the thought within a month or two. Well, then why wouldn't a 20% drop from not even the all-time high be a good entry when we're seeing the player base still growing? We had an average of 1.12 million just this month. So we're having a growing player base with a growing Armory capacity. At the same time, we're seeing 20 to 25% lower entry prices. But then the question is, what should we buy in the Armory? Well, guessing what collection is being taken out is just going to be stupid. I would diversify into every single collection, because right now there's a reason to take out the train collection. They just took out the map. There's a reason to take out the overpass collection because it's the oldest collection shared with the sports and field, and at the same time being the least opened one in the Armory. But then you could also argue the sports and field collection, because it was least opened over pretty much between September to January. We could see the overpass collection being open more than the sports and field. But now it's obviously the other way around. So you could argue that Valve is seeing a trend with the sports and field collection that they don't want to take a gamble on for the next 6 months if they choose to keep it in. So right now I'm honestly seeing a reason to take out every single collection from the Armory. So what I would do is I would jump in there, get a few factory new blues or a purple, or even get a covert from every collection depending on your budget. Then jumping over into the stickers, honestly, the only stickers I could honestly argue are good investments right now are the Elemental Craft stickers. But for every day that keeps going, the investment potential is getting worse and worse and worse, because what I'm seeing recently is that they are extremely overinvested. And I know one guy in my Discord said the same thing as I've been thinking a long time. I'm just going to assume that the supply on the Elemental Craft stickers is crazy, because I think that's the best mindset to have regarding the Elemental Craft stickers. I think that they are extremely overinvested, but I also think they have extremely good potential in the long run. Now let's talk about operation. That's something I'm pretty sure nobody thought I would say. Well, it's actually looking that there is a small chance that we're getting an operation. It started off with leaks about a month, 2 months ago, showing that there's a possibility of an operation. Then I moved over to Valve adding the name Operation into the game files that one of my sources found as well. And then now we're having literal tokens added into the game regarding operation and missions. So for us to be getting some kind of operation tied to the Armory isn't looking too far-fetched. I mean, obviously we won't be getting an operation just like we did in the old days, because that's the whole point of the Armory. But getting some kind of operation inside of the Armory, I don't think is too unrealistic to see within the few next months. All of these collections, for example, the Inferno collection that was taken out last month on the 22nd of January, they all saw this hype, and then now we're seeing a small decline. This is completely normal. Obviously, people are liquidating the investments they did on update night, and this is completely normal. But what we're actually seeing is still a fairly nice demand. I'm not saying these items will start shooting in price, but if you want to see more on that, I would recommend checking out this video right here, because here I do a fairly big deep dive into that collection as well. And we also did do a stream on the Wexxim Twitch channel where we did a several hour long stream going through every single collection float by float, and we ended up only finding one single skin that had the best potential investments out of every single skin in that game. So if you do want to see that, I highly recommend heading over there as well. So now, so far, we've covered the top 3 most important cases. We've covered everything from old collections that were taken out. We've covered the Armory. But one thing we haven't covered is agents. And agents, I think, are in such an interesting position right now. we did see this hype of agents, or you could almost even call it pumping of agents back in January. And what we've been seeing now over the past few weeks is agents crashing quite a bit. I mean, some agents are down as much as 15 to 20%, with the earlier pump only being 10%, meaning that they're now 5 to 10% cheaper than they were at their previous price points in the start of this year. So now you could then argue, well, one, if we do get some kind of operation, well, then there's a mathematical chance that we do get agents as well. And if we do get agents, well, what will happen to these agents we already have in game? Well, they will now be the rare agents that nobody really can get their hands on. Because if we look supply-wise, and if we look at the amount of players in the player base playing Counter-Strike on a daily basis, we can clearly see that something is missing. 90% of the player base do not have an agent equipped while playing, and we see a total supply of a few 100,000 of these agents. Like, let's play with the thought that the average player base of Counter-Strike within a few years could be upwards towards 2 million players on an average base. Since we did have a peak at 1.8, that's not too unrealistic within a few years, because Counter-Strike is really popping off for the past few years here. And then what we're looking at right now is every single agent in the game that exists right now will be some of the rarest agents in the game, because every agent that gets added from now on will forever have a 3x higher player base buying them and trying to obtain the agents. And we do know for a fact that Valve will implement agents again into Counter-Strike. The question is just, when will they introduce these agents? Will they do it with an operation? Will they do it in a year? Will they do it in 5 years? Nobody knows. But one thing is for sure, the only reason we've taken this long before getting agents is because when they released agents back about 5 years ago, they had so much problems with hitboxes and coloring and everything like that, that I think that they are perfecting the agents so that when they do release agents now, whenever it is, then they will not have any problems whatsoever. And these agents that we're currently able to buy on the market will be the new rare agents. And now lastly, I know this video was a little bit longer than I've normally done them, but a lot of people seem to be wanting these a bit longer videos where I talk a little bit more in depth about every single item instead of just quickly covering the most 3 important things of that item. So I hope this form of video is a little bit more appreciated. I'm doing this for you guys. But this is the last video that we have on the knife giveaway. I said we would do 3 videos, and I would pick one person who commented, liked, and subscribed from one of the 3 videos to enter the knife giveaway. And so far, not a lot of people have entered, because my last video was the Budapest analysis video, which obviously these analyzing videos don't get a lot of views. They never have on my channel, but they're still really interesting to watch. And the video before that really didn't pop off too big. So what we're seeing now is you have a really big chance, if you like, comment, subscribe on this video, to win a knife. So, well, here it is on screen. I hope you win it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.